let's get into it. What is the difference between a therapist versus a life coach? Do you need both? Are they the same? I'm going to get into it and let you know. If you are new around here and you're clicking my face for the first time, thank you. My name is Lesline and I am your favorite nurse yogi. And I really want to get into this today because I actually got this question from somebody and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect YouTube video. I remember a few years ago, SZA, she actually made a tweet or something and she was just expressing she thought they were the same. And don't quote me on that, but it was something around that. And I remember Dr. Raquel, she was like, let's clear the air with this. And so then that was a few years ago, and she did a beautiful job just explaining the difference. And then just yesterday, I had somebody ask me, like, what is the difference? Because they saw a short form video that I made where I said that I spent $4,000 on a life coach and that I recently paid that off last year. Mind you, I had that life coach in 2020. I took out a personal loan of $4,000, and here we are now. Well, at that time, it was 4 years later, I finally paid it off. Yay, me. So they were just like, but what's the difference? Like, what if I'm needing a coach for business? And I was like, okay, it's separate things, right? And let me give context. So that was personal, right? I personally did that for myself because I was going through postpartum depression. I have a whole video on that, and you can watch that. Also, for context, I am a registered nurse. So I feel like what sets me apart, if you will, is I have healthcare experience. I have been a nurse for 12 years, and technically I've been in healthcare for 14 because the first 2 years of my healthcare career, I was a tech. So I was the nurse's assistant, right? So I did that for the first 2 years while I was in nursing school just to understand the lay of the land when it comes to healthcare, specifically the hospital. And then I became a nurse, and I have my bachelor's in nursing. Okay, so I have that clinical experience. I'm also a certified yoga teacher, so I've been practicing yoga personally for 17 years. What's 2009? Okay, and I'm currently, time of recording is February 2026. I've been practicing yoga since 2009. Specifically, Bikram yoga was my first yoga class. You want to talk about intense? It's intense. That's not really around anymore because the Bikram guy, like all men, it's just everything ruined, right? Everything's ruined. But you take what you want and you leave the rest. I'm going to say that again. You take what you want from things and you leave the rest. So, that was 2009, practiced it since then. And then in 2020, I got the opportunity through my life coach, who's also a yoga teacher. She has her own community. They were like, because of what happened in 2020 with George Floyd and all of that, this yoga school reached out to my life coach and was like, hey, we'd love to give, if anybody in your community, because it was majority of us were Black, if you Black, we'll give you a free yoga scholarship. That's a double. We'll give your community a scholarship to get their 200-hour certified yoga teacher thing. I took that and I ran with it, y'all. So December 2020, I got certified. And then March 2021, I started my own business, Lesline Does Wellness, where I show new moms how to put themselves first through yoga. Because I truly believe that if you learn how to prioritize your health while your kids are young, and I want to put this here, I know a lot of people be like, oh, like it's a lot. Yes, it is a lot raising little ones. It is a lot, and you can't do it alone. And for whatever reason, society, specifically, I live in America, I live in Florida, has made it seem that we have to live in silos and care for our children when that is completely wrong. You cannot care for your child by yourself. So I've created a whole entire wellness program to show you how to take care of yourself. That'll be below. So I just want to give you that context before I really get into the difference, so you know where I'm coming from, because I've had my own personal experience and I've also seen healthcare wise, clinically, why these other modalities are needed, like these alternative, that's the word I'm looking for. Therapy, life coaching, these are alternative ways of healing that when I did them myself, I remember asking a friend of mine, like, hey, I'm looking into this life coach. Like, what do you think? And it was not really the best response. And, hindsight is 2020. Like, that person, and I also say this, it's like and this is what I was telling the person yesterday that asked me, like, what's the difference? Sometimes you have to, if it feels good for you and it's not harming anybody, right? You just got to do stuff. Like, and that's me. Like, I just be doing stuff. Like, I don't know if y'all follow Kev on stage, but he'd be like, I just be doing stuff. And the way I feel that, I just be doing stuff. Like, when I tell you with the life coach, I just knew at the time I was feeling so low. And at the same time, I knew that I deserved to feel better. And so because I knew that I deserved to feel better, God brought this person in my life. Like, I truly believe that, because I was just like looking on Instagram, and then I saw this person and I was like, yes. And mind you, this person is so different than me personality wise, but I was like, something about her, like I need her to help me level up with my confidence, right? Did I say already I spent this is like my second or third time recording the video, but I'll just repeat myself. I did spend $4,000 on the life coach. And then at the same time, I also got a therapist. The reason I got the therapist is because of the thoughts I was having and wanting to harm myself and my daughter. At the time, my daughter was not even 6 months old, and I was so scared. And because I was listening to podcasts at the time that were talking about therapy, I was like, I think I need therapy. Mind you, I'm a nurse, and I was a nurse at the time, but it's so weird when something like that happens to you, you forget your titles. Like, it all just went to because you're like, but girl, you're a nurse. Like, don't you, of course you need to get therapy, right? And it's like, but when you're in it, when you're going through something on your own, you don't know how to treat yourself. Right. And I say this too, like, nurses, we the worst patients. So anyways, though, I was like, I need to get a therapist. So I hired a therapist, I hired a life coach. And again, I'll leave the full video as like how I navigated finding those providers. But I hired both of these women and I transformed my life. Okay. So what is the difference, right? So we're talking about the real differences, because there is a difference between therapy and life coaching. They're not the same. They are not the same. Okay. So the therapist, let me just make sure I want to stay on this script. A therapist is a licensed mental health professional, meaning a therapist goes to a lot of school, y'all, a lot of school. And there's different types. Okay, so the therapist that I had, let me just say what I had was a licensed clinical social worker. This is short for LCSW. Okay, so that is what I had. And I feel like that is so important because when maybe you're like, do I need therapy? Like, that's why you click this video. Like, do I need therapy? Do I need a life coach? You're gonna, wherever you go. So my therapist I found on Black Girl Therapy, I forget, but I found them on Black Girls Do Therapy. Y'all know, like, and if you need, let me write that down. I'll write that down as a resource for you, and it'll be the proper title. I think it was like Black Girl Therapy. If I'm like, it was that. Okay. I went on there, found the therapist, and you put your zip code, bada bing. But there is different types of therapists. So you'll also see, maybe there'll be a psychologist, or maybe there'll be a psychiatrist. So with a psychologist, they are a doctor in psychology. Okay. So that, you might be like, do I need a psychologist or do I need an LCSW? It depends on what you are going through in your life. So I just advise, see whoever is available, because these people be booking out, right? And if you have a good provider, they will be like, hey, you need to see a psychologist. Or they might be like, hey, you need to see a psychiatrist. So a psychiatrist is the person, and there is a branch with there is a different sector of this as well. So it's psychiatrist. You can have a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. This is a PMHNP. And I actually went to school for this and it didn't work out. That's another video. There's that. that type of nurse practitioner can prescribe medication. So like Zoloft, right? Those type of things. Wellbutrin, right? Like those type of like antidepressants, a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner can prescribe those for you if you need it, right? Then there is a psychiatrist who is a doctor, not a nurse practitioner, a doctor. They also can prescribe medication. Both of these types of providers are very medication management focused. So you're going to, because I've sat through clinicals, I've also just seen, how it is firsthand, and they'll be like, it's a very quick appointment. So if you're like wanting to do what is called talk therapy, you would see, going back to a therapist, you would see a LCSW, licensed clinical social worker, right? You would see somebody like that to do talk therapy. They can diagnose, so still staying in this bucket of what does a therapist do, right? They diagnose and they treat mental health conditions. And as a therapist, they are trained to know, okay, like this person, they're good with talk therapy, right? And specifically like cognitive behavioral therapy, like they're trained in those type of things. But if they notice like, oh, the talk therapy ain't working, they need some meds, and that's okay, they will refer you to a psychiatrist, right? So they'll either, depending on their network of providers that they're comfortable with and they like, again, if this is a good provider, they may refer you to a psychiatrist, or they might refer you to a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. They are just different titles, but both of those providers will prescribe medication, and they just focus on that. A therapist will work with your trauma, your anxiety, your depression, and often they explore the past. So I really want to stay in this. So the difference between, and give me one moment as I just do something really, really quick, because it is already, this is real life, y'all. Just bear with me, y'all. Hold on. Oop. What did I do? Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So with the therapist, we're focusing on the past, right? So what happened in your past? What trauma were you dealing with in your past, your childhood? Maybe you went through a life transition, such as maybe there was a death in your family. Maybe you had a divorce. Maybe you're starting a new job. Like even happy things, or you got married. Even happy things, you need to, I would say, seek out a therapist. But just again, really focusing on the past, right? So that's what the therapist focuses on. Now we're going to talk about what a life coach does. So a life coach is not licensed for mental health treatment. Again, I repeat, they are not licensed as a mental health provider. They cannot treat your anxiety, your depression. They cannot treat these clinical diagnoses, heavy on clinical diagnosis. What they can do is they will help you focus on goals, clarity, accountability. So if you're looking for a true accountability person, hire a life coach. So if you're looking for me, the reason I hired a life coach is because I wanted to help somebody to help me build my confidence. Okay, that's what I needed. I needed somebody to help me build my confidence. And they're also very future. So therapists, we're looking in the past. A life coach, we're looking to the future, right? Future. And they help mindset and personal development. So they're going to teach you so many things of just how to rewire your brain, mindset, and personal development wise. And yeah, coaching, this is a good point. Coaching works best when you're already regulated enough to move forward. Because what will happen is somebody, and going back to SZA, I don't know if I said this already in this video. Again, this is like take 2 or 3 from me making this video. SZA was pissed because she was like, all this life coach is helping me do is breathe. The breathing's not working, right? And the journaling, which journaling though, therapists will recommend that as well, but therapists aren't just going to tell you to journal. They're going to give you specific journal prompts to help bring up stuff that has happened in your past. And then they will, on the sessions, give you tools of how to work through all of that. So if you're in survival mode, coaching is not for you, okay? So if you are like, I'm just trying to survive, I can't even get through the day, those type of things. It's hard for me to get out of bed. These are things that you need therapy, girl. Let's not focus on the life coach, okay? So just to give the key differences, therapists help with healing, clinical support, trauma processing, mental health stabilization. A life coach can help you with strategy. So going back to what I said up front, the person that was like, what's the difference? She's like, what if I need a coach for business? Yes, there are business coaches, but they are not life coaches. Maybe this person does both things, right? Maybe this person does both business and life coaching, and they need to be clear and say that. But if you're just like, oh, I just need somebody to help me like figure out how to streamline my business, right? That is not a life coach. That is somebody that is just like looking at your business and all of that. So again, life coach helps with forward momentum, accountability, your growth. So personal development growth. So one is for stabilizing therapy, and then one is for optimizing. So if there is an area of life that you are wanting to optimize. So a lot of people now are saying they're coaches, right? That's another conversation. So we have life coaches. And I also say this here. I also did get certified to become a life coach. So I do have that certification as well under Hina Khan Coaching, because she was my second life coach that I had. Incredible. And I was like, she helped me just learn how to expand and take up space and things that you might be rolling. And you're probably not rolling your eyes here if you're like, I need this. So because she was just doing so well with her clients, she's like, I want to scale. And she's like, I want to teach other people under my way of coaching. And so it's technically under the ICF that she taught us. And the ICF is like the International Coaching Federation, something like that. So there is a whole coaching framework. It is not woo silly people just whipping up stuff, right? So that's life coaching. And then there's people that are parenting coaches. There's people that are money coaches. There's people there's so many different type of coaches now, which I think is incredible, if I'm going to be honest with you, because you can just find a coach for what focus area you want. Life coach is very broad, right? So people can get confused because how social media, how people brand themselves. Some coaches do use therapy language, which can be a little, and then some therapists now are doing more coaching work, which I think is it can be really good if they frame it good, if they have it in a structured way, because it's you can see this client through the continuum. So you can see them from their past, and that'll help them move forward truly. So just, before you decide, ask yourself, am I emotionally stable? Am I having intrusive thoughts? Am I in burnout or depression? Ooh. Or do I need clarity and structure? And maybe you're like, yes. Get the therapist first. I will always say that because of my nurse background, my clinical background. I will always say, get a therapist first, because then they can be like, girl, you fine, which you're probably not. I'm just going to put a thing out there. Work through your trauma, because we all have some kind of trauma. We all do. So as I close this video, am I closing? Y'all, this is so chaotic. I'm sorry. But yeah, work through whatever has happened in your past, because when you are able to work through that past stuff, that's how you can really move forward. So for some people, it's I don't really, maybe you're content in your job or whatever it is, but you're I need to work through some stuff, because maybe navigating relationships, friendships is difficult for you, right? Maybe you're somebody that's avoidant, and you don't realize that the reason you're avoidant is because of how you were raised, right? And a therapist will help you unpack all of that, y'all, right? So those are some questions you ask. So again, just ask yourself, am I emotionally stable? Am I having intrusive thoughts? Am I in burnout or depression? Or do I need clarity and structure? Okay, they want to talk about that. I'm just gonna, and I just want to close with these points. Therapy is not weakness. Especially in my community, Black community, people still think therapy is weakness. It's not. It's actually support. It's a tool. It's a resource. Coaching is not magic. Coaching is not magic, especially if you have trauma. Coaching is not magic. Both of these, though, therapy and life coaching, require you to be honest with yourself. So what do you actually need right now? So that's what I want to really close with, is like, what do you actually need right now? You click this video, you watched till the end. Thank you. Like, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I know the comment one, especially with this topic, you don't have to do that. Like, I'm going to be so honest with you, but if you feel called, if you feel led, please do. But definitely definitely make sure you're subscribed, because if it's your first time clicking here, just immediately do it, because I've even been guilty, like, oh, I'm not subscribed. And I've had a friend too who's like, oh my God, I'm not subscribed to your YouTube. Like, so just double, triple check, because when you subscribe, then YouTube will continue to show you my videos. And I have so many resources for you on this channel, free. So you can genuinely just binge your girl, binge me up. Like, binge me up. And most importantly, share this video. If you have somebody in your life that you're like, and this is a gentle nudge. It's a gentle nudge. If you're like, hey girl, I'm just going to share this with you because I think you need one of them. You're not being a doctor or a nurse. You're not or a therapist. You're not being any of those things. You're not diagnosing. But if you know that somebody's going through a rough patch, meaning maybe you haven't heard from somebody in a while, like they've been quiet. And it's not that they've been quiet because they're mad at you. They're quiet because they're going through a lot themselves at this time. So just share this video, and the share, I feel like, is like the best way for YouTube to like continue to push my stuff. And you don't need permission to get support. I know I said I was going to end, but I'm going to end with these things. You don't need permission to get support. And I said that in the beginning. Like, sometimes, a lot of the time, if I'm being honest, you don't need to explain yourself to people, okay? If you know you're struggling with something and you need support, you don't need to share, even with your husband, your wife, your partner. You don't need to explain, okay? Because sometimes they'll be like, well, we don't have the money for that, or da-da-da-da. But if you are suffering, pull out that loan like I did. Pull out that loan, because it truly transformed my life. And I'm so glad I pulled out that loan and I paid it off. That's what I will say too. Be responsible. Know that you have to make the monthly payments. I had to make 4 or 5 years of payments, right? They were little, and I finally did it. I honestly was like, oh my God, this is going to be forever, but it's not. And the thing is, time is going to keep passing by. Do you want to continue to feel like shit? You don't deserve that. And I know when you click this video, you know you deserve more in life. And know this though, you don't need to rush your growth. I'm going to say this. When you hire a therapist or a life coach, or you do both, you actually collapse time. So something that would take somebody like 10 years to work through, everybody is different, but something that would take 10 years to work through, when you work with providers that truly know what they're doing, it can go from 10 to 5 years, depending, or you know what I'm saying? You collapse time when you work with people. So if this helps, stay. We talk about integration here, not balance, how you can integrate living your best healthy life. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.